Hey girl, what are you doing? Hey girl. Hi. I am a kindergarten teacher in Alcona, so I teach 22 little 5 and 6-year-olds. And I mean, I've just always been a very busy person, so I just keep busy with my birds, and I love being busy with my kiddos too. I am licensed to do state birds and migratory birds. The migratory bird permit is through the Federal Fish and Wildlife. That was my recent permit, so that covers any birds that are migrating from down south up here. The state permit covers any birds that stay here, like chickadees are local, our owls and hawks are local. I am permitted to take in all birds except for eagles right now. Eagles, I'm not able to take in because I need to get this raptor flight cage finished. It can be overwhelming, but you know, I honestly have set limits for myself. Like, I'm not gonna overdo it, because the more animals I take in, then the less I can care for them. So, you know, I'm taking in critical cases, and, you know, I can't take any more, then I will refer them to someone else that can take them. Or, you know, I mean, euthanasia is not something people like to talk about, but it's better than leaving the bird left to suffer. So we're also trained to euthanize if we need to. So one of my very first owls was a barred owl. It was hit by a car. It had an eye injury. So I worked on it for a while, getting it rehydrated, getting it, you know, back to being able to eat. Took very small baby steps. Like, it's very important too, if you find a bird, do not feed it, do not water it. Like, please leave that up to us, because you could kill it. So I worked a lot on rehydrating this bird, getting it back to being able to eat. It was actually a bird that I got transferred from another rehabber. So I was really hoping to have, like, the eye removed and then be able to transfer it to another, you know, it would be an educational bird because it doesn't have its eye. But then we had the avian flu that hit, and our permit specialist was like, nobody's taking birds right now. So I ended up having to euthanize after about 3 months of work, getting it back on track. I had an appointment scheduled with Schweitzer's to get its eye removed, and we had to cancel that. And it was hard because I did put a lot of work into it, but then at the same time, you have to also look at the quality of life of the bird, and if there is nowhere that can take it, then, you know, we can't just release it back to the wild. So that was like one of my very first, so it was definitely a touching story, and I learned a lot from the bird, I have to say that. Like, they are teaching me as much as, you know, I am teaching the public, so.
Avian influenza, also known as bird flu, is a virus that can cause sickness or death in domestic and wild birds. Occasionally, it can cause similar symptoms in mammals and people, but it is considered lower risk. Megan Moriarty is a wildlife veterinary specialist at the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. She says last year, around March, there was an increase in highly pathogenic avian influenza across the state of Michigan. This is one of the avian viruses that tends to cause more death and sickness than others. The birds that are most susceptible to this virus are in the waterfowl and raptor family. That includes ducks, geese, owls, hawks, and falcons. Moriarty says the virus can be spread through dead animals, feces, saliva, or even by breathing in proximity with one another. However, the main transmitter are migratory birds carrying the virus back to Michigan in the spring. Currently, there is no vaccine or treatment for the virus. So what happens to the infected birds when there is no treatment? The wildlife specialist says it is often that euthanasia is warranted because of how infectious the virus is. During last year's outbreak, euthanasia was fairly common among the 180 cases that were reported. This spring, Moriarty says we have seen a decrease in outbreaks. This may be due to an immunity boost in the wild bird population, but the virus continues to change and evolve. She says it is hard to know what the future holds, but this year, it has been a promising spring for the bird population.